What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today it's time for some more Transformers fun time. We need to talk today about a topic I've not really addressed specifically on this channel, and that is the convention exclusive cards. You see, before this game came out in September, there were a bunch of conventions, and what Hasbro did, Wizards of the Coast, but Wizards of the Coast are owned by Hasbro, so it all fits together. They went on out to a bunch of conventions with some convention exclusive card packs. Now, I did hear they were selling them online, but I also heard they sold out very soon, so unless you knew exactly where to look and exactly what time, you probably didn't get them. Now, the issue with this is very simple. These cards are now extremely expensive. If we have a look on eBay, it doesn't make for good reading, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't make for good reading at all. If we take Cliffjumper, for instance, who I think may well be the very best of the convention exclusive cards, there is one copy on eBay. And it's in the US. And in English money, it is £62.70 plus £10.97 postage. Or if you want it in American money, given that it is an American listing, $80 plus $14 postage. That's ridiculous. And what is more upsetting about this is that these cards were given away for free at conventions. You just rocked up and you were like, hey, I want to play Transformers. And they were like, hey, have some stuff. And then you were like, yeah, I got some stuff. And now people are just hawking it on eBay. And the problem is that as it stands at the moment, and we'll talk about what's probably going to happen in the future, but at the moment we're in this awkward situation where there's just not that many out there. And most of the ones that are out there have either found their way into the hands of collectors who don't want to get rid of them, or players who don't want to get rid of them. And then we're just kind of like chilling here, just being like, hey, is there any chance of getting these for a decent price? And essentially the answer is no, you can't. A little bit upsetting. So before we have a talk about what to do about these and what's likely to happen, let's remind ourselves what these convention exclusive cards actually are. The best one of the lot, I think, is Cliffjumper. Now, it is an 8 cost, which is exactly average, with a health of 12, which is exactly average, a defense of 2, which is exactly average, and an attack of 5, which is 1 above average. So purely in terms of stats, this is a good card. When it's in alt mode, when you flip one of your other cards to bot mode, draw a card. And then bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that we've actually got 2 different options for flipping all of your cards over. We've obviously got Rollout. That's a card that lets you flip all of your Transformers over. But we also have Start Your Engines, which flips all your characters from bot mode to car mode. Oh, that won't work with Cliffjumper, which is a little bit sad. Sorry, slow rolled. Honestly, the best use of Cliffjumper in this mode is just to get some extra draw here and there. Now, it's also a melee character, which means you can use Power Sword and Body Armor. And do remember the rule, ladies and gentlemen. You can put Power Sword and Body Armor on when you're a melee character. When you then flip and you're no longer a melee character, you still keep those upgrades. So that's pretty cool. But what's really good about Cliffjumper is when you go into bot mode and it gets +1 attack for each car in your KO area. And what's really good about this is that we got Scamper in the Metroplex deck. And what's really good about Scamper is it's a 4 cost, which means we can play 4 wide cars decks. Now, I did make a video about this. I'll pop a link in the description. I'm not going to go into great detail here, but essentially, Scamper plus Cliffjumper is 12, giving you 13 to play with. And we've got some options for 6 cost cars, 2 of which will go in with this to make a 4-wide deck. We got Bumblebee Brave Warrior, we got Prowl Military Strategist, and we've got Red Alert Security Chief. Now, all of this goes together to say that Cliffjumper is a pretty good card. The stats are above average, both the skills are quite nice, and since we can now play a 4-wide card deck, we're actually in a better position than we've ever been for Cliffjumper. Quite frankly, it's a good card. But it's a convention exclusive. So if you want to play it, you'd better either have it or be willing to pay a lot of money. I can pick up secret rares like Nemesis Prime for less money than I can pick up Cliffjumper. Though, of course, there's an argument that if it's basically the same price as a secret rare, or super rare as they're called, is that a huge problem? Nemesis Prime and a cheap card? Putting that out there. So the other cards we see, we have Slipstream. Now, I did an analysis of Slipstream the other day. I said it was a fairly nice card. It is an 8 cost with a health of 13, which is good. A defense of either 2 or 1, which is not great. And an attack of 3, which is not great. When you attack in bot mode, if you flip at least 3 different battle icons, you get +3 attack until the end of your turn. That's quite nice. Awkward to pull off, of course, but still quite nice. And then when you are in plane mode, when one of your planes attacks, you move 1 damage counter from it to the defender. And then, of course, given that it's a plane, we have a really, really nice combo here with Bombing Run. Now, Bombing Run basically says that you can move 1 damage counter from each of your planes to one of your opponent's characters, and then with Photon Bomb that does 2 damage to everything, you can basically spread damage around, move all of yours to your opponent, and then kind of laugh in their face a little bit. Politely, of course. We're all friends here. So I don't think it's quite as good a card. I think you can play a really good Planes deck without it. But I do think that there is a bit of potential there. And like I said, I've done my video about this. I'll pop a link to that one in the description. Do check out the description. There are some useful links in there. And I'd be delighted if you checked some of them out. But we also have a couple of battle cards that are convention exclusives. We've got All Out Attack. Each of your untapped Transformers can attack this turn. And to be honest with you, people are not digging this card. The general theory of All Out Attack is it's not really that great. It's a little bit aggro, and it's kind of good in aggro mirrors, but honestly, it's just a little bit meh. And finally, we have Tandem Targeting System. When you play it from your hand, you may play a Tandem Targeting System from your scrap pile. I mean, it gives +1 attack, but that's weak. Now, you can essentially use them to fuel each other and get many Tandem Targeting System and all of that, but it's honestly just a little bit weak. I mean, +1 attack as an upgrade card. We can do better. I mean, Agility of Bumblebee gives you +1, but maybe it ends up on Bumblebee and then you draw a card. Or Cybertronium Bow. If you flip an equal number of orange and blue icons, you add each of them to your attack. Or, I mean, look, there's a million different ways to do this, ladies and gentlemen. I just don't think it's particularly good. Sorry about that. But people like Cliffjumper and people like Slipstream. If anyone's wondering, if you go on eBay at the moment, you can pick up a Slipstream for just $70. Which, to be fair, right, is $10 cheaper than Cliffjumper. I still don't think that's good, but, you know, it's there. So to go back to my initial question, is this a problem? And the answer is yes. Right now it is a problem. We have got a bunch of cards, 4 cards, which are legal for play, which can only be gotten in these promo packs, which are just not available right now and are incredibly expensive. But also, no, they're really not a problem. And I've got 2 main reasons for telling you they're not a problem. Number 1, you can just ignore them. Because there is no organised play right now. There are no official tournaments, which means you don't actually need to own any of these cards. Proxy away, ladies and gentlemen. By proxy, I mean print out a version of the card to essentially use as a placeholder until you get the real card. Because you don't need to worry about it. There are no official tournaments. When there are official tournaments, yeah, you're going to need to own the real card. Until then, you're fine. The other argument is, this is basically the same price as, say, Nemesis Prime. Now, Nemesis Prime is a super rare, admittedly, but it's still a great card. And as we looked at the other day, link in the description, it's part of what is the best deck in the format right now. So, are we that worried? In a game where super rare cards are like $70, do we mind the fact that exclusive promos are $70? There is a strong argument that no, we shouldn't really care at all. And then, of course, what do we do about this? Because some people have said, just reprint them. Reprinting them doesn't work, because these are exclusive convention cards. And I don't know for a fact, but I can tell you the way this generally works. Hasbro are all like, hey, we want to come to your convention, and a convention, maybe it's a requirement for going there that you have to have some kind of exclusive stuff to make people want to go to the convention. Maybe you get a discount or a better slot on the floor if you're giving away exclusive stuff. I don't know. But I'm willing to bet that somewhere there is a contract between Wizards, the makers of the card game, and the convention companies, which basically says, we will not make these cards available elsewhere. Because these cards are basically a reason to make you go to the convention in the first place. In which case, you can't just reprint them. Now, some people have suggested alternate art reprints. The answer is, depends on the contract. It would keep the exclusivity of the convention promos, which would be awesome, but then it also would still cheapen them, literally and figuratively, a fair bit. The most likely solution is just that we end up getting these at conventions in the future. And then if you go to other conventions, you will see these. Now, number one, this gives other people the opportunity to get those cards. But number two, this will then increase the supply of these cards. There'll be more of them out there, which means that the price should take a little bit of a tumble. Either way, if you want these cards and want to play with these cards, yes, it's an issue. But at the moment, with no organised play and the super rares being as expensive they are, I don't think it is a huge issue. And Wizards have already come out and said, we are looking at ways to make these available. They've made no secret of that. They are looking at ways to make these more available. We just don't know what form that takes. As always, as soon as we do know what form that takes, guess where you're going to be able to find out about it? This channel, ladies and gentlemen. So do make sure you click that subscribe button, because anytime Transformers TCG news comes out, it's going to be on here, because I love this game. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, which you should have already done, and then follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where I ramble about stuff. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.